Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday night 4C Comic Sketch Live. I am joined today, as always, by what I like to call the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ken Carson. Everybody say hi to Ken. Ken, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
And we are joined tonight by Mike Beckerman. So welcome, Becker, to the group tonight. We're gonna be trying something a little different tonight. We're gonna not have to listen to my voice all night long, which is going to be a pleasure to your ears, I'm sure. So Beckerman's going to help us out here.
No, it's actually a downgrade to go to me. So,
well, we want to try and mix it up a little bit. We're going to get you some difference. We're going to have some more conversations. We're going to have some more people to play off of. And Mike has an insanely large knowledge of comics and modern and past and everything, and we're happy to have that to the group and just have him to the group. He's been with us before. He was with us in Kansas City this past year for Planet Con, and he's been around for a while. We're going to try to bring him in a little more often now. So, and as you guys know, we have a live person tonight who's going to be doing sketches for you guys. And just to double check, there he is. Everybody, welcome, Mr. Mike DeCarlo. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderfully. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Excellent. See everybody in the crowd. I see some new names. I see some old names. I see a lot of great people. Wonderful. Well, Mike's going to be doing some sketching for us tonight. We'll do a little talking too. You know, we always like to do that. Mike's been on our show a couple times before. I don't know if I was ever on when Mike was on. I think every time it didn't work out. It almost didn't work out tonight, but I was happy to be here, and it's going to be a fun show. So how are you doing this evening, sir? Everything going well?
Yeah, I'm well rested. I got my work done, my chores done, and I'm raring to go.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to be offering up some sketch options for tonight. I believe we're doing two different sizes for sketches. We're going to be offering busts or full figures. Is that right? Or are we doing, what are we doing?
Full figures. Yeah.
So there's your prices, guys. It's $80 for a bust, $120 for a full figure. Get excited, guys. As soon as Ken very slyly throws up that claim, feel free to claim. Before we do that, though, let's throw the rules up if I'm going to throw a little side thing. So, he was ready. See, Ken, now that Ken doesn't have to focus on trying to be my straight man, he can get behind this stuff. So for anybody who's never been with us before, even if you have, basically, we're a live claim sketch show. What we do is when we put up a claim banner, you just type claim in the chat. We'll take the first claim if it's 3 or less. If it's more than 3, we take the first 5 names. We put you into a wheel spin. Whoever wins the wheel spin gets the opportunity to get a sketch from the guest, who this evening is Mr. Mike DeCarlo. You can pick pretty much any character. If there's anything that he won't do, he will let you know, and you might, you can kind of pick a backup character, but I'm pretty sure he's pretty open to doing a lot of stuff. He's worked on a lot of different things. For you guys you don't know, he's worked on Batman. He was with Bill Morrison doing the Simpsons stuff for Bongo Comics. He's worked on a ton of different stuff. He even worked on the Batman Incredible Hulk mashup back in the day, which I want to ask him about a little bit later. So that's it. If we've never bought from us before, please email us or send a message through Messenger so we can get that invoice to you, so we can get your money and get our money to him and get you your art.
And if you have questions, right, they can hit it up right in the chat.
Oh yeah, throw it in the chat, guys. If you have any questions for Mike at all, please feel free to type it in there and we'll relay it to him. Mike, you don't have to look at the chat as often as we do. Oh, there you go. There's the first claim up on the board. We'll let you know if people have any questions for you. And
I'd like to provide a little backdrop because you mentioned Batman and Hulk.
Yeah.
I had just stopped being Dick Giordano's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is over 41 years ago. And he said, we have Jose Luis Garcia Lopez as the penciler. So let me handle the Batman stuff and you handle the Bruce Banner Hulk stuff. We were going to do that. So I don't even think I had turned 24 yet. I was still very young. And I looked at the pages, and I'm sure you're all familiar with Jose Luis.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I said to Dick, how could I possibly ink these amazing pencils? There's no way I can do them justice. This guy, yeah, there you go. I said, he's so beyond good. It freaked me out. And Dick calmed me down, and he said, Mike, don't worry about it. Nobody can really do him justice. We just do the best we can. I'm going to just do the best I can. You do the best you can. And that was my introduction to the big time world of comics, was Jose Luis Garcia Lopez's unbelievably good pencil work back then. It just seems like it was yesterday when I was so blown away by it. But I was very honored to be on that book at such a young age. But anyway, a little backdrop to that.
Yeah, I forget where I heard that from. I don't think it was from Jose, and it escapes me of where I found out that you actually, because you're not credited on the book, if I recall, for doing.
I am credited with an assist. Yes,
okay.
I'm credited with an assist. But
that was one. I had just never known that, and I heard that you you pretty much, you had him focus on the Batman, and they gave you the Hulk, and that's just awesome. It was one of those little facts that even though I've been in the around all this stuff for years, and that was one of my favorite books, I just never knew you were a part of it. Now I know another reason why, since I was such a huge fan of all your work. You were
I was the Bruce Banner and the Hulk part of it, and Dick handled the Bruce Wayne and Batman part of it. But boy, what a treat that was. Working with Giordano and working with Garcia Lopez. Amazing stuff. But I did want to add to whoever's listening or going to be part of this is that, this is 42 years and counting. And there isn't anything that I haven't done. And I'm not saying I've done everything expertly, but I've worked with The Simpsons and with Disney and Bongo, and Archie and Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers, Marvel, DC, Nickelodeon. I've done everything because I like to do everything, and I always prided myself on being able to switch genres and styles and do a representative job. So it really doesn't matter what anybody would like to request from me, because I've probably done it at one time, and I still enjoy doing everything. I'm not, I'm kind of known for the Batman or Teen Titans or Thor or whatever, but no, I've loved all kinds of art all my life since I was a kid. So anyway, if that influences what people want or request from me, I just thought I would throw that in.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, we have a claim up right now. If anybody would like to get something from the legendary Mike DeCarlo, once again, we don't have a whole lot of people on right now, and I know a few of these people have gotten stuff from you before. But if anybody wants to get something, please feel free to type claim in the chat, and well, there you go. I didn't have to say that for very long. I think Ken is now trying the backstage. He's working it all around. He's trying to figure it all out. He knows it, but he's trying to figure out which order we're going to put in and stuff. This is going to be a new thing with Ken. He's going to try and stay a little more backstage, and he wants us to do all the yapping. So we'll see how it goes. And if anybody happened to notice, Annika slipped in there. Hi, Annika. How are you? You can talk. Yapper. You're not the yapper. No, you're the invoice girl. Look at that. Yeah. Well, let's see. So we do have a couple of claims. I only have two. So unless I get two more, Jonathan, you're going to be the winner. We'll take a second, make sure. But I think Jonathan's probably going to get the first spot. So, Jonathan, we have two options. We have a bust for 80, or we have a full figure for 120. So, Jonathan, I think we're just going to go ahead and name you the winner. Jason, hang on there, because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of people out there, and we want you to get a claim if Mike has time. So, Jonathan, yeah, you got the claim. So just let us know what character you'd like Mike to do, and I'm sure he'll be up for it.
Well, is it appropriate, or is it okay that you get these requests and I fulfill them, when I'm not in a rush necessarily?
Yeah,
and
of course.
Take because I'd like to do a good job rather than just hack out a sketch for somebody, as long as they can provide an email or something, or you guys can.
We'll set it all up. That's absolutely fine, as long as it's
sure.
Hopefully it's fine with Jonathan. I don't think any person in the history of getting art has been bothered by an artist wanting to spend more time drawing their piece.
Well, yeah, I don't like rushing, and I'm not. My board isn't back of me, so
Right.
I'm not great at doing hasty sketches because I'd rather really put thought into it, and so usually my turnaround isn't long. But I will do that at comic shows if people are willing to wait a few hours. But I just don't like to hack out things. I don't think that's fair to people. I'm not a doodler, and I'm not a here you go, $50, please. I just don't like to do things that way.
Well, yeah. Well, let's see. All right. Well, if it's okay with everybody who's claimed so far, and if it's okay with you, Mike, we have 3 people who have claimed, and I will just take all 3 if you guys don't mind waiting, and Mike will do these. Let's see. I know. I feel like Jeff was waiting on it. Sorry, I'm reading I can't really chew gum and walk sometimes. I'm trying to read a chat down here with my.
So it was Jason, Jonathan, and then Facebook users.
Facebook user who I already looked up is Stephen Wong. So if it's okay with you guys, then we'll just put you on Mike, and he'll just get them done, and he'll send them to us when they're all finished. So we'll try this. We'll just have our interview with you. We'll hang out. We'll talk, and we got a list for you. So so far everybody wants a full figure. So what I have so far is a full figure from Jonathan. If Jonathan, let us know if you're good. Let's see. Will there be minimal background? I don't know. That's a good question. Mike, will you throw in a little background on these full figures, or he did say minimal?
Well, yeah, I mean, as long as it's not Gotham City or Arkham Prison, I'm happy to throw in a little something extra. Sure. I doesn't have to be that stark and that regimented, but these are just parameters I like to work with. And believe me, I work on the best comic paper, and it's full India ink. What I've been doing for 40 something years. So and the turnaround is not long.
No. I mean, I remember when I commissioned this piece that I have back here by you, and it was way more detailed than a sketch. I think I got it in about 2 weeks. I was shocked. So Mike really works well, and he works pretty fast. So you guys don't have to worry about it. So Ken, I see you snuck in a claim in there for Pinky and the Brain.
I'm also headed to put a claim in.
Oh, look at this. See, now you opened it up to working off camera, and now they're flying in. So let's see. So we have if Jason's good for a full figure Silver Surfer, if that works for you.
I not only draw everything, but I enjoy drawing everything. I cannot tell people enough that the entire spectrum of art, all the styles, all the genres, all the periods, have just always been fascinating to me. Even as a 6 or 7-year-old, I was studying Hal Foster drawings and Mort Walker and Schultz and everybody, all the newspaper guys. And then in the early 60s, I got into comics. And I just am an art nut. Perhaps that is why I don't have an overly specific style, because I just like everything. I just enjoy drawing everything. I always have.
That's awesome. I feel like Ken is trolling us a little bit now that he's not on screen. He wants to know if you'll draw a robot Bill Morrison, which is
Why not?
Oh my gosh!
Why not? He says.
Oh my gosh! I don't know what he's doing out there, but so far, guys, just to make sure, and please, obviously, Jason's good for the at home. Jonathan, just give me a good. He did say he's good. Okay, so Jonathan's good with it as well, and then a Facebook user who was Stephen Wong. Stephen, just let me know if you're good with this, doing it at a later time, and we'll add you to the list, and we'll send you out an invoice.
Yeah, and when you say later time, I mean, it's not like I put things off for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So
it literally means not right now. That's all he's saying.
Yeah, just not as we're sitting here, because I'm just not going to do a great job with a pad in my lap, and I won't do justice. So I think most people would rather wait a few days or a week and get a really, really concentrated effort for me. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. So here's just so you know what you're looking at. We got Stephen Wong would love you to do a Dr. Doom. Once again, he'll do anything, but I think they want to hear is whether you're excited about doing these or not. I think that's what they want to make sure.
Is Stevens going to be a bust or a full figure?
Full figure. Stevens is going to be a full figure.
Yeah,
that's great.
Dr. Doom is my all-time favorite villain to draw. I have so many Dr. Doom drawings. He picked the right guy. Dr. Doom is both ultimately evil, but yet has a dignity about him that only Stan Lee and Jack Kirby could have created. He's almost beyond evil. He's a law unto himself, and he has his own code of ethics, and it's just the most brilliant villain of all time. I just love Dr. Doom, and to get emotion out of an iron mask that's the trick I just love. Usually it's done by lighting or
lighting or the eyes. I mean, it's crazy how they were able to do that to get him to have the same exact mask, but just with the lighting. You're right, or just the eyes, or just the way the hood would come down. They could change his look completely. Yeah,
and I think somebody mentioned a Silver Surfer, and I also take great pride in that because showing somebody of that power who is balancing themselves both forcefully and gracefully on a board in space. And you can't just do a straight on thing like he's a surfer. I mean, you've got to do all these angles above and underneath. And the Silver Surfer was always a wonderful challenge because somehow you have to get the solidity of form and power, but yet just gentle grace, the way he can move on that board. It's a great challenge. I've seen people butcher the surfer on the board, and I studied actual frames of real surfers and how they balance themselves, and I try to incorporate it into my surfer drawings. And then you're always able to light him with that glistening and usually the star field and back. Geez, I just love the Silver Surfer. See, I'm getting excited.
Exactly. See, that's how we do it, man. Let's see, I know Becker here, he slid in a claim for a nice bust of Lobo. So we'll take you back to DC after a few Marvel choices there. So hopefully that one appeals to you.
Would you like a Lobo story?
I would love a Lobo story.
Okay. Back in 1982, I was talking to Keith Giffen on the phone, and he said, I'm thinking of creating this character who is so vile, so evil, so lacking in any conscience, so violent that I don't know if DC is going to go along with it. Because we had just started the Omega Men.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't know. I said, well, what's he called? He said, I think I'm going to call him Lobo, but he's going to be very different. I don't know if DC's going to be worried about the comics code or what, because his violence and his he's utterly sociopathic. So we talked for quite a while before he had the nerve to approach DC with Lobo, and the rest is history. Him and Bisley went to town with it, but I was there encouraging Mr. Giffen to go along with it.
You worked inks on Omega Men 3, right?
Oh yeah, boy, that book is worth quite a bit now. But
it's been really surging lately too. The speculation market has really grabbed a hold of it in the last few weeks.
See, I'm so old that I can give you these wonderful stories about the inception of characters. How do you like that?
Absolutely.
That's great. I love it.
Hey, that guy's good. Oh, that's me.
Yeah, see, there you go. There's an example of a bust, sort of half figure there from Mike. Look, look
Emilio. Omega Men 3 was first Lobo.
Yeah,
that's it.
Somebody had asked in the
Look
chat.
at that.
Alan Rue, Comics and Collectibles, who said he loves a story about the main man, Lobo. That's actually who I made the claim for. I'm going to give that to him. That's his Christmas gift there. So he's a guy I do a show with on his channel. We have a weekly. We just do our hauls and mail calls.
Yeah, no, nice. Dagny, we're doing something a little different tonight, and I don't know if Ken's had time to put on a sort of a claim thing. We're actually not doing live sketching tonight, but Mike is basically taking a little bit of list. So, Mike, when we get to too many things for you to draw, you please cut us off because I don't want to have you have to work night and day for the next
Why should anything change?
So, Dagny, if you would like a full figure, I don't know, Eternity. How does Eternity sound to you, Mike?
From the old Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
Oh, love that. My goodness.
So, Dagny, if you want to, just make sure you type claim just for my own sanity. So I know you really want this because you were asking a question, so you're not obligated. But do you have any stories about Doctor Strange there? I'm just going to hit you up for stories now when we bring up stuff.
Yeah, me next. Because I have a follow-up.
This will be I don't know how to put this, but back in 1980, I was in Dick Giordano's editorial office. I was doing some work for him. He asked me to come into New York, and he had a drawing board in his office. And I was about 15, 20 feet away from his desk. So I'm working. I'm kind of minding my own business. And I hear the door open, and this rather plain, unseemly, almost impoverished gentleman in a very dirty kind of old overcoat walks in. And I'm not paying a lot of attention. It's not my business. But the reverence that Dick Giordano spoke to this indiscriminate fellow, this quiet fellow, kind of intrigued me, just me not paying strict attention. But, and they're talking for 15 or 20 minutes. And then the fellow leaves. And I said to Dick, why were you so nice, so respectful for that kind of bummy looking guy? And he says, you don't know who that is, do you? Or who that was? I said, no. He said, that was Steve Ditko.
I knew it. I love it.
I said, oh, okay. But a more mild-mannered and just, he spoke so quietly and no air of ego about him. And I ended up working with Steve, doing some of his pencils later on. I think he worked for Jim Shooter for a while in the mid to late 80s. And I ended up working with him, but that was embarrassing and strange that I kind of called him a hobo-looking guy. Here's some punk kid, but I didn't know. You think Steve Ditko, and you think this larger-than-life human being is going to walk in, but then I learned that's Steve. That's his personality altogether. But
yeah.
Question from Andrew Mackey. Mike, who is a character you've wanted to work on, but never had an opportunity? Is there anyone that got away?
Wow. I literally cannot think of a comic or a character that I didn't work on at least once. I would have liked to have done more Fantastic Four stuff. I did some, but that was my favorite comic book as a kid. The Jack Kirby era. I did some Fantastic Four work, but I would have liked to have done more. I mean, I worked for most of the Marvel stuff that I enjoyed and most of the DC stuff that I enjoyed as a kid. So I'd have to say no. I mean, that's what happens when you've been part of about 15 or 16,000 pages of artwork in your career. You end up working on a little bit of everybody.
And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize is, like, for instance, how old was Jim Aparo when you started working on Batman, and how old were you? just because nobody ever puts that together when they get the book. They're just like, oh, it has an inker. They have in their head what they think these people are, maybe how old they are, what they, but you guys had a very dramatic difference in age when you guys were working together.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. When I started on Batman, I was about 29. And at the peak of Batman, when it was, no credit to me, but when it was the largest selling comic book in America, like by 89, I think I was about 32 and I think Jim was about 57. So yeah, it was almost a father and son thing, but he didn't live far from me and we would get together. And he was a great gentleman, a great guy, and he paid me the ultimate compliment to this day. And he said, Mike, I just don't have the time or the energy to ink my own stuff anymore. But I have to say, if I could have picked anybody, it would have been you. And you have done my penciling justice for all these years. And that was very touching and quite a compliment from somebody as accomplished and respected as Jim Aparo was. So,
yeah, I've heard that several times that he liked to ink his own stuff and he did not have very many inkers that he liked who did inking on him. But I know that he felt very, very highly of you. Yeah, I would have to agree, since those are the books that I grew up on. I've got a handful of them behind me over here. Just the Death in the Family ones I pulled out of my box over here because they're just like some of my favorite books ever. And and for like I showed this to Mike earlier. I actually
show this.
I had Mike do a recreation of one of my favorite parts of the Death in the Family series was Batman punching Superman. And Mike was nice enough to do this recreation for me. And I brought it to Jim Starlin and had him sign it since he wrote the words for the book. And everybody knows, unfortunately, Jim Aparo is not with us anymore. He passed away almost 2 decades ago. I think it's been a while. But I was a huge fan. And it's what's great about this is it's actually 2 different pages. This was the end of one page and this was the beginning of another, but I always thought the story belonged together. And when I presented this to Mike, he was very happy to do it. And I still can't thank him enough for doing this for me. So
that was my pleasure. It's bittersweet of when I broke in, which was, late 1980, because so many of the greats, from the 50s, 60s, and 70s were still active. They maybe between 45 and 60. They were still active, many of them, the Gene Colans, the Kurt Swans, you can go on, Gil Kane's, all those people were still very active. Don Hex, Steve Ditko. And, it was such a thrill to meet the John Romitas and that ilk. And they were so nice. They were so open to help you. The Carmen Infantinos, the Joe Orlandos, the Giordanos. There was no hazing. There was no making you feel like an outsider. These were men of great talent, but surprisingly small egos. And if you showed effort and the willingness to learn and to play the game properly, they took you under your wing and they made you feel like welcome to our little industry. And I'll never forget how they treated some 23-year-old, 24-year-old punk off the street. And to this day, I'm always very encouraging and am happy to guide young people in their 20s or so, because if I could do a tenth of what those guys did for me, that's the legacy that you pass on as an artist from one artist to another. It's a baton and we're all part of that. And I'm so grateful to those men and sad that so many of them have passed on. It's a long time. It's over 40 years and they move on, but they are still so much a part of me. and they spur me to continue to fight the good fight and to use all those wonderful things they taught me, the wonderful attitudes. So I'm sorry if I'm getting preachy, but that's
no.
Keep going.
That's what those guys left me. And I just get such a thrill out of meeting an 18 or 20 or 22-year-old that has talent and just saying, you know, you got it. Just believe in yourself. Just work hard. And you know, that's all I was ever told. Just stick with it. Work hard. You know what you need to do. And there's such great pride that comes from working hard and giving everything you got and to never stop learning. And that's what I would like to, I guess I'm kind of preaching, but that's what I'd like to preach to young aspiring talent, is to just open your hearts and your minds, never stop learning. And the only person that could ever stop you in life is yourself. And that is the truth. That's what I learned from these greats, these great artists from that time. So
Absolutely. No, those are great words. And sometimes people forget and they get in their own way. And it's always nice to have someone just, you know, just give them that reminder that, you know what, if you really want something, go after it. Because, you know, the only thing stopping you from going after it usually is yourself. I mean, you look at anybody, you look at Todd McFarlane, who, like I said, whether you like his art or not, is probably one of the most successful artists to ever work in the industry in modern times. And that guy has a stack of rejection letters this big. So it's like,
I know all about it because he's a little bit younger than me. And I heard people like Jim Shooter and John Romita talk about him. And if he knew what they had said, he wouldn't have been too happy. I mean, John Romita used to excoriate Todd McFarlane. He would literally say, "Look at this piece of shit," and people are liking it. You know, I'm sorry. I mean, Todd has succeeded beyond everybody's wildest dreams.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's probably been told in the past that the old masters didn't understand that excessive style of his, but he seized on a zeitgeist of that time. People were tired, not tired, but they were so used to a certain kind of style, and he had the cojones to go for something, to take a shot, and hey, nobody's going to argue with his success.
Absolutely.
So you know, but yeah, you know, John Romita, that's somebody I'd like to bring up. I mean, his son is a wonderful guy too. We're just about the same age, but I met John first, I think, around 1988-ish. And he was an art director, I think. And I'm kind of wandering around the Marvel offices, and I recognized him. And I said, "Hi, Mr. Romita. It's a pleasure to meet you. I've been a fan of your work since the mid-'60s. And he invited me to sit next to him. And for the next 2 hours, he acted like I was a long lost nephew, or I just never forget the way he just had me sit next to him and talk to me like he'd known me all his life. And geez, what a gem of a guy. You know, what an amazing artist John Romita was. But you know, like I say, I was always shocked at how helpful and just nice and decent these older fellas were. They just I don't know. It's I think egos started entering the picture as money became more and more accessible, and the royalties and everything, and the books themselves stopped being as important as who the artist was. Whatever, that's not for me to say, but it started becoming more about the ego and the style of the artist than about the book itself, and furthering it along. And I saw that happening in the late 80s and 90s. And that's when I could see the handwriting was maybe on the wall for me in certain ways, because that wasn't me. But anyway, I'm.
We do have some questions building up, but first off, Jason Lutz asked, would you do a Death in the Family beaten / near death Jason Todd Robin full body?
Nobody's ever asked you to do that before, have they?
No, that will make request number 111 for that, and that's absolutely fine.
There you go. So, Jason Lutz, just give. He would happy to do it. If you would like it done, just give us that claim. Give us that thumbs up so we can put you on the list. And what Mike's doing is if you just joined us, everybody, Mike's going to do a few of these sketches. He's going to do them later off camera because he really wants to put the work into them. So it is an open claim, as you can see at the bottom. So anybody who'd like something, there you go. Add Jason Lutz to the list.
I was at the Atlanta show a few months ago, and somebody wanted, Jason getting beaten by the crowbar, and I just said to the artist next to me, I said, how many times do we have to kill this poor bastard before people get
Well, the good news is he got better.
Yeah, listen, hashtag cuz comics. He's alive. It's okay.
Yeah, Jason Todd, Red Hood.
There you go. So Alan Rue actually asked a couple questions. One from way earlier wanted to know, what was your favorite project that you worked on, if you had a favorite project?
I'd have to say the whole Death in the Family run, because Batman had always been my favorite DC character. I mean, I liked Superman, but he just seemed a little too one-dimensional to me. I loved Batman. I loved the mood of it, the darkness, the shadows, the swirling capes. And it was very heady from about 88 to 91 or so, because Batman was selling close to 500,000 copies a month. It was quite a ride, and I was very honored to be part of it. I was very honored to work with Jim, and we got along. We became kind of one mind after a while. So that was probably my favorite run in comics, was that special 2 or 3 year run with Starlin especially. So I hope that answers that.
Great run. I'm gonna go back to, I know Emilio had a question about, do you have any Stan Lee stories you can tell?
Yeah, there was another great question. I love that you can tell part of that.
Yeah. I think nothing hurt Stan more than people trying to turn Jack Kirby against him. I know it troubled him greatly. I know he never really tried to take credit for what Jack came up with. But Stan was the Brian Epstein to what the Beatles were, because Jack was just, and I know these things very well, Jack was just a loose cannon with ideas. He was so creative. He was just so all over the place. He needed a Stan Lee to focus all that energy, all that creativity into ways that the average comic reader of the 60s especially could understand, because Jack was just a maverick horse that you could not saddle. And Stan had this wonderful gift of harnessing, focusing, and channeling talent, because Jack, as we learned later on, had very little gift for actual conversation between people. He was not good with that, but Stan was a master of that. And he brought a certain kind of depth and a way that the average person of that time could really understand what Jack was trying to do. And I know certain people, it was to their benefit to turn Jack against Stan. And that's a pity, because I know Stan did not really want to take credit. He just wanted credit for finding, harnessing, and utilizing this magnificent talent and building a Marvel empire, which he did. You cannot argue what Stanley did. I mean, the guy was a brilliant ringmaster. He took all this amazing talent of Ditko and Heck and Kirby and all these people, and look what he created from nothing. So people should never shortchange the value of Stan Lee to that company. So I don't know if that helped answer questions.
Oh no, that was great. And
great.
I love the God, I love the
listening.
Yeah, the ringmaster analogy. I literally am just thinking that he, like, I can just totally, it just makes so much sense that he's like a Barnum, a P.T. Barnum kind of guy who just took all these things and put them all together. And nobody denies the talent of everybody that he worked with, but I can see how people would be jealous, because the spotlight was on him a lot more than a lot of other people. And I don't think he hated it, but I think that he deserved a lot of it.
Jack was never a front person.
No.
He didn't have that kind of personality. And we all know Steve Ditko was a very quiet, withdrawn person who was in his own Ayn Rand mind. Mm-hmm. He would not have been a good spokesperson. Don Heck, sadly, was just heartbroken when his wife died in the early 60s, and he wouldn't have had the heart for it. And nobody else was that dramatic a contributor. So Stan did what needed to be done. And how can people shortchange the man for the brilliant job he did? Brilliant.
He went out there and was an ambassador for Marvel,
Absolutely.
And comics as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Sure. Was he, as we look back, and we like to look back and judge things, was he a bit corny for our sensibilities of nowadays? But you forget, this is 64, 65, 66. People wanted to see kind of a more hip, and he was still a fairly young man. He was a good looking guy, thin. He grew a beard and all that stuff. He appealed to the high schools and the colleges. He was just an amazing spokesperson for Marvel and comic books in general. He legitimized comic books as something other than for a 9-year-old kid to read while he's eating a bag of Fritos and throw it in the closet. No, Stan didn't want that. And why people want to take that away from him, I don't really know. But that's my opinion, and it's not a shallow opinion. Believe me, I just know too many people over too many years who were privy to all this inside stuff. And I know Stan was very hurt at the way people tried to turn Jack against him over the years. He was a very gentle, sentimental person, deeply in love with his wife for 60 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. I met Stan a couple times, not at length, but the guy was a damn legend in his own way. People should never take that away from the guy.
No. I think that people, I don't know. I think nowadays people just like they want to see, they want to see all sides of stuff. And then somebody tells them a little morsel about something and they take it and they blow it up a little bit. But I don't think anybody ever took away from Stan what he did. I think he'll always be the face and the people think about when they think about comics in that time period. And, it's great. But, I think that story was exactly what the people are waiting for from you, Mike. This is great. Also wanted to let you know that Andrew Mackey wants to get a Invisible Girl bust from you. And he said, after hearing you talk about the Fantastic Four, it's like that was his favorite childhood book. You said it, and that's why.
How is he going to know I drew it if it's the Invisible Girl?
Well, I think he's hoping you'll draw her not invisible, but that's up to you. This could be the easiest sketch you ever signed your name on if you want.
Send a blank piece of paper.
That was corny old man humor. I know what to do. I'm happy to do that.
I have another question from Alan Rue. Do you have a favorite modern artist that you are following or that you have followed?
Do you follow modern comics, Mike, at all? Anything in the last 10 years? I'd call that modern, right? That's modern. 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would have to lie, and that's not something I'm really good at. No, I have lost touch with what's been done in the last 10 to 12 years. Does it mean that I don't think there's lots of very talented people out there? Of course not. I see. I've kind of gone a lot of different ways. I'm truly self-employed on a huge landscape, and my time in comics has been invaluable, and I take all the lessons learned and I incorporate it into everything. But to say that I know what's going on in an X-Men or a Spider-Man or this or that nowadays, not that I'm not interested. I'm just going so many different ways in my life now.
No, listen, you have nothing to feel bad about. I don't read. I don't think I read any modern comics. I don't know if anybody knew that about me either. Most of my love for comics came from nostalgia, from the stuff that I read. I did dip into some stuff in the around 2011 for a little while when I first got back into reading the books and stuff. But I couldn't tell you anything that's going on in comics right now. So you're not alone, sir. Life happens. So. That's
if
quite
either
right.
of you want to borrow comics from me, I'm your guy. I got you. I'll get them in the mail right away.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. What do we got? I've been keeping my place.
Sure. Yeah, I saw that Avi wanted to know.
Yeah, what's the favorite Batman character? That was the next up, right?
Yeah, what?
I'm trying not to miss these.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good. If you had a favorite Batman character. Or a favorite Batman character to draw, or you've never drawn. Okay.
Well, just as Dr. Doom is for Marvel, the ultimate villain, I get such the word isn't joy, but I like drawing the Joker so much because that barely controlled insanity is just I think of him as an insane version of Mick Jagger, if you can, just somebody extraordinarily gifted as Mick Jagger is, but in a twisted, maniacal, evil way. That kind of jaunty and sinewy, full of energy, and it just utterly glorifying in his sociopathy, and that the looks in his eyes, and just the Joker is just an amazing villain, and whether he's swinging that damn crowbar 1,000 times, it doesn't matter, because I sometimes do big studies of just his face and the way his eyes can look at you, and they're both scary, but yet there's just so much behind them. You wonder if there's some method to that incurable, endless madness that is behind his eyes. So he's got the same depth of character that Dr. Doom has. That's why I like the Joker so much. I give lengthy answers to everything, don't I?
Oh no, you're good. Jason Vignola says, and it's good to see you in the chat, Jason. I know you've been busy lately. He says, he doesn't think he'll ever look at the Joker the same way again. I would have to agree.
I pictured him doing the finger wag, like the school marm finger wag, with the Mick Jagger.
We have a question actually that I asked Ken, but I think he forgot. What size are these sketches going to be? What size paper do you use, Mike, for these?
I do everything on the professional comic board, 11 by 17 inches.
There you go.
So, excellent. That's you can buy them in packs of I think it comes 24 pages, and it's got all the
line, yeah.
blue lining, and so it's great paper, and I do everything that way, and it holds up so well, and it's good and solid to pack, and so yeah, no, I don't scrimp on things like that.
Well, let's see. Avi has just made a claim. He would love for you to do a full figure Joker with fish guns. So that'll be an interesting one to do. Hopefully that's all right with you to draw a couple of fish guns.
I draw anything. It doesn't. I find anything interesting. That's fine. My motto is, if you can think of it, I'll draw it for you. So.
There you go. And then Mr. Lee was the one who asked about the commission size. So anybody who's new, guys, this is an open claim. You can claim these. Mike is going to draw them after the show is over. Probably not immediately after the show's over.
Yeah, but I might sleep tonight, but
yeah, there you go. Oh, he says you're craziest Joker. All right, he wants the full Mick Jagger get no satisfaction Joker. That's what he wants. He wants the exact super crazy Joker. All right, I think we'll make sure we get that down we're going to send Mike this list of all these things you guys are asking for. So he's going to do them all, and then he'll send them all back to us. So yeah, we'll put everything in here. Annika's here tonight, not doing her hair. She's not cooking. She's not eating. She's just, oh wait, there you go. Okay, good. She's just writing down all your invoice information. So there you go.
And it's all going to be done in that drawing board that's right back of you. And I've yet to take the air conditioning out of the windows, but what the hell?
Let's see. So we have, Legion of Comics says Death in the
Family.
Family.
I was going to jump to some of these. Legion of Comics. He actually had two about Death in the Family, but one is Death in the Family is easily one of my top 3 Bat books ever. Jason Todd to this day is my favorite word of Bruce. But what did he say about? He had a question up above it. Oh, how does it feel to be one of the gang members who killed Jason Todd? Hashtag end the violence.
He talked about it, and that's what I love earlier when Mike said that. Yeah, what exactly he said?
How many times?
How many times do we have to kill this poor bastard before people get sick of it? No, whatever. You disassociate yourself. I mean, I don't do it unless people request it. It's not like I'm sitting by myself.
Yeah. How can I kill Jason this time?
No, you got to be inventive, because I don't want to just keep doing the same thing. Sometimes I do a worm's eye view, looking up, sometimes from the side, looking down, everything, the blood flowing, just from the Joker's perspective, just from Jason's perspective. So yes, I've had to be creative in my cruelty. So I somehow managed to do that.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back up to Jason Lutz. We have what's Mike's favorite Green Lantern?
There you go. Did you have a favorite Green Lantern?
I tend to be a traditionalist. Yeah, the Gil Kane era. I'm such a Gil Kane fan. And boy, do I have some Gil Kane stories that I just can't tell.
I was getting warmed up. I was ready.
I just can't.
I'll get everyone to sign an NDA.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm really good friends with Jim Shooter. And if he and I sit down with a couple of wines, boy, he just goes, because Jim has been in this business since 65 or 6, when he was like a 15-year-old kid. And oh my God, the stuff that Jim tells me. So I guess I would be a real betrayer of confidence if I told half the things that Jim has told me. But I don't think the Kane family would be happy to know the things I know about Gil. Let's just say Gil was an absolutely fantastic artist, and we can leave it at that. And and he was just, his work on the Atom and then the Green Lantern. I mean, what a great artist. Oh my God. And then when him and Ramita worked on Spider-Man, oh, that was just some of the best Spider-Man art ever. So yeah, Howard Chaykin was.
Howard Chaykin. There's not one story Howard Chaykin won't tell.
Wow.
He's a live wire.
Yeah, I don't know. See, people have always been trusting of me because I don't tell too many stories out of school. But yeah, people are fearful of me because I know so damn much that if they piss me off, I got stuff that I can just unleash that they don't want me to. So
I'm just going to say hi to a couple people in the chat. ML, how are you doing, sir? Linda's now joined us. She had the Howard Chaykin line. Very nice. See, we already said Avi's question earlier. Some of these people were a little late to the party. I want to make sure I say hi to everybody. Let's see. What? Go ahead, Beckerman. Yeah, go.
Okay, yeah. I will do this one, but I was going to say I have a question myself too, but we'll do Emilio's first.
Sure.
Mike, do you like doing male characters or female characters?
That's just kind of a loaded question. See, I'm not into the really big steroidy characters that superheroes changed into in the 90s. So I do like the lithe and elegance of just a real athletic, sinewy, agile male. I absolutely love capes. That's why I loved Thor and Batman, because just that swirling cape and everything. But there is, of course, that artist who grew up drawing nudes in college and a great appreciation for the female form. So drawing a good female is a challenge all to itself, because once again, elegance and grace have to be combined with stature and power and confidence, which is easy to do with a man with certain posturing. But with a woman, she still has to be feminine, but yet no sign of weakness. You know, the Supergirls and the Wonder Womans. Yeah, I especially love drawing Wonder Woman because, she's so powerful, but so beautiful, but you have to respect her because she is so powerful. And, that's not easy to do, to show an elegant gracefulness of femininity, but yet, no, don't mess with this woman. So that's, I love the challenge of the Supergirls, the Wonder Women, things like that. So they both have their own special requirements, and I have made it a lifetime study of learning just how much posture and just head. You tilt a woman's head differently than you would a man's head. There's all these subtleties involved. The way a woman holds her hand as opposed to a man. The way a woman dangles or moves her arm as opposed to a man. The way a woman balances herself because her axis is so different than a man. The way gravity plays upon a woman's body and not on a man. There's studies to all this that I have just enjoyed so much researching, and I'm not sure if the younger artists pay that much attention to it, but I take great pride in learning the most subtle of nuances in what makes a really believable superheroine to a really believable superhero, and there's quite a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great.
Here's my I'm gonna jump the line just for a second.
No, you're in line, buddy. You're right in line.
I am a huge fan of Crisis and the original Crisis, and you worked on a few issues in that. Can you give me any stories about what it was like to be on that team?
Well, so many of the pages, which is not known, were breakdowns. There were layouts from George. And, George was a stultifyingly descriptive and detailed artist. So I would have to try to mimic an unmimicable style. What an extraordinary man George was. I just did a recreation of a crisis page for somebody. And what a prolific human being he was. Set standards for dedication and detail that just have been unmatched. And he was also a really, really nice guy. And losing him and Neil Adams within, I think, a week of each other, who I knew both of them, and that was very troubling. Losing two icons and two friends, guys who inspired me, pushed me to be better, and that was my wife back then used to say, "You're working on the same page for 2 days. I hope they're paying you double." I said, "No, honey, they don't pay you double. You just have to do the work." She couldn't understand the amount of effort that you had to put into it, but it is a labor of love, and certainly nobody loved drawing more than George Perez. So I was very honored to have worked with him on quite a few things over the years, and he's sorely missed, as anybody could vouch for. So anyway,
it's not. This is 2022 has been a gut punch with the losses of not just obviously everywhere, but over the last couple of years, but this year in the comic book industry is just, I mean, it's there could be a 5-minute in memoriam to the insanely talented people that we've lost.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, not that long ago, I was texting on Facebook with Steve Lytle, and I think within 2 days he was dead. I was like, "What?" I guess it was COVID. I said, just was talking to him. We were, good friends, and he was dead 2 days later. It's like, what the hell, just so many people have gone in the last year, and that's why I'm so determined to keep my generation of artists, guys from the 80s, who were treated so well by guys from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I just want to keep it going as long as possible, and in respect for those guys and what they brought to the table. So anyway.
No, that's so great, and that's why we love your stories. We love hearing any of these stories, but it's a lot of the collectors that we deal with now, they maybe haven't been in the industry for very long, and the stories they hear, obviously with the internet, you can hear a lot of stories through interviews and stuff, but just hearing the firsthand stories is still insanely amazing. It's always great to when once again, and I've had dinner with Jim Shooter a few times, and so I've heard quite a few stories, and it never amazes me that the amount of stories that he has, and then the amount of stories I know nothing about. So that's why it's so great to have you on and talk to you. I'm assuming Beckerman has something that he's responding to a second ago that he wants to.
Oh yeah, so a friend of mine here in Kansas City, Circumstances. His name is Marcus. He's getting wise in the comments. He said, "What is the greatest comic ever, and why is it Super Pro?"
Super Pro. You got to love a football-based superhero. Hashtag cuz 80s. I don't know what.
It was 90s actually.
Was that 90s? I thought it was like late 80s.
Oh, early 90s.
Yeah, 91 or 2. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. After a while, it became, sadly, a job for me. I kind of was becoming disenchanted with inking because that's not what I had set out to be. It just was a very easy way for me to get into the business. Everybody was looking for competent anchors who could meet deadlines. Matter of fact, that's what Joe Orlando, the art director at that time of DC, said to me when I first met him. How many pages can you do in a month? I said, well, how many pages do you want me to do in a month? He said, well, can you do 2 books? I said, yeah, I'm sure I could, saying to myself, hub boy. But, they were, that was great. But there came a time where, and thankfully now this is what I do, where I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to do sequential art. I wanted to start with a blank page. And not that I have disrespect for the inking I did or for anybody who inks, but, it's limited. You can do a great job inking, but it's, you're putting a nice fresh coat of paint or wallpaper or finish on something that was essentially somebody else's idea. And when I'm in my 20s, and that was fine, but I can't do that anymore. And I'm doing 2 different graphic novels at once. I need to tell a story. I've been doing that my whole life, studying for it my whole life. And I don't regret my time in comics, but people say, well, Mike, geez, wouldn't you like to ink this book or that book again? And, you want to gently say, been there, done that. That's what I did 35, 40 years ago. I'm not that person. I don't want to go back there, and I wouldn't go back there. I'm going on 66 years old. I'm just not that person anymore. And I need to move on. And I'm grateful that I have been able to move on. And I'm really quite happier now than I ever was. I know that might sound odd to people because I'm not on that roller coaster anymore. But when you've been on that roller coaster for over 30 years and you get off and you're just doing something different, and you have to move on. You have to go directionally different in life. You have to take chances. You have to present yourself with new challenges. And that's how you always grow, and you don't stagnate and you don't feel old. And that's how I keep my enthusiasm and my desire to work every day, because I don't feel like I've done my best work yet. Maybe that seems arrogant or foolish, but I don't think I've done my best work yet. And I'm going to operate under that. I don't know if it's a pretense or I'm kidding myself, but that's how I want to go forward. My next drawing, I hope, will be my best one.
That's great. That's a great way to look at it. That's always funny when people talk about, they talk about like, Tom Brady talking about his Super. What was your favorite Super Bowl? And he always says, it's the next one.
That's how you have to be. That's how you have to be.
Although I don't think he's going to get another one, but that's a whole other show. We're not going to do that show this year.
I have some opinions on that, but I'll leave them be. A guy who charges $900 for an autograph, I don't know. It's I find that a little bit much, but whatever. I guess if you can get it, you can get it.
Right, and that's the bottom line. Yeah, if people are willing to pay it, I guess there's nothing wrong with it. Let's see. Anna Beam wants to know: do you have a favorite version of the Joker from the comics? Like of the different Jokers, do you have a favorite?
Well, I loved everything from what Brian Bolland did, and I loved Jim Apato's, and I think anybody who can truly, I think Bolland came closest to almost that. He almost found a certain gentility to the Joker's madness. I thought that was the way him and Batman are kind of laughing together at the end of one of those stories. It that was a whole different take. And, he's such a multi-dimensional character. And I can't see I've seen every interpretation of the Joker in the last 25 years, but I've seen everything from the 50s up into the early 90s, and everybody had a pretty decent take on it. So, every artist brings his own interpretation. So I've been able to, appreciate quite a few of them, but I may be partial to what Jim and Jim and I did back then, but that's a matter of pride, I guess. So I hope that answered that.
I think that that was a good answer.
All right, I'm going to scan back up top and look to see if we missed any. We had a question from Emilio. Is there anything you didn't like to ink, like building, cars, animals, etc.?
Yeah. Good question.
No, I'm a maniac. I never said, "Oh, I don't want to draw this. I don't want to ink this bridge. I don't want to ink this car. I don't want to ink this forest." I tell you what, as I've learned, as I've had to draw them myself, is the hardest damn thing to draw or ink is somebody going up and down stairs. You would not think so, but it's so bizarrely difficult. It's just weird, this weird combination of trigonometry and angles and perspectives. It's so darn hard to get somebody to, when you throw in the banisters and the balustrades and the twisting and the winding, staircases they're a pain in the butt. But no, I don't look at that. I take pride in a well-drawn building, a well-drawn car, a well-drawn. I tell you, I love organic things like oceans and skies and foliage. I love that stuff because it's organic. But no, I love doing a good architectural drawing in perspective, or a really slick car, or a nice helicopter or an airplane. And no, I just like drawing everything. Everything is a matter of, I'm going to give it my best. I'm going to make it look as good as I can possibly do. I've done war stories. You got to make the tanks and the airplanes and the uniforms and the guns, the period pieces. It's just, it's your craft. Take pride in it. I don't look at any of it as tedious, really. So there you go. Another long-winded answer.
No, that's good. Well, wait, listen, you don't know it, but you answered somebody else's question by answering that question, because they asked if there's anybody that you don't like to draw. And I think you just said you'll draw anything. So they kind of knocked that question right off the board.
I will be forthcoming. There's one character, and for some reason, there was a time where I was getting one commission request for it after the other, is Swamp Thing. Because he's so amorphous, the twigs and the vines and the leaves and the ooze and the this, that you can't translate him to structured geometry, structured form. It's strictly, does that vine look good here, and does that stuff look good there? And I always gave Swamp Thing my best shot, and people always seem to be happy. But that is the one character that I'm not overly, I'm sure we'll get now 3 commission requests for the Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Well, it is
sure
funny
they're on
because
their way.
Jason had earlier asked about this. We hadn't gotten there yet. He had asked if you had any Swamp Thing stories. So by answering this question, you've now answered his question. So we've knocked 2 out again. This is great.
That's great.
I've probably done a dozen Swamp Thing commissions, and everybody was always happy. But geez, it's like you just can't. I don't know. There's a way to draw Thor. There's a way to draw Iron Man, the Hulk. There's a way to draw, but to draw the Swamp Thing, it's almost a feel that a Wrightson and those guys, they just had a feel for it.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It was never my cup of tea, but I'm always willing to do something if somebody wants it bad enough.
All right. Well, ML said that he's going to upgrade his sketch to Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing. Just kidding. But that's something ML would do. Yeah.
There's a wise guy in every audience, I'll tell you.
There always is. Andrew Mackey, I'm intentionally making Ken's question wait. I've decided that'll just be funsies for me. So we have Andrew Mackey. What was? Oh, now Ken's requesting a Swamp Thing. Jack of Hearts versus Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
I'll let Ken ask you that.
I just did a Jack of Hearts drawing. That's funny.
Andrew Mackey asks, what was the most obscure or weirdest character that has been requested as a commission?
The weirdest thing you've ever been asked to draw. These are questions we usually ask all our guests.
Yeah, I have to admit there are times where people ask me something and I have to do a Google image. It's from some 1947 All-Star comic that somebody has this little thing for.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, I thank God for Google Images, and I don't know what artists did 40 or 50 years ago, because I need a 1951 Chevy, Google image. I need a 1943 Russian tank, Google image. I need this character from a 1942 comic, Google image. I don't know what people did before that, but I live by Google images, and it just has made all of our lives so much easier. I'm not skirting that question. I'm just trying to think of somebody super obscure. Well, I think that Jack of Hearts thing, which strangely enough I just did a week or so ago, that was a character I wasn't that familiar with, so I had to look that one up. I don't know how else to answer that. Somebody once asked me to do all the villains from the Scooby-Doo cartoon, so I had to look some of those up because I wasn't huge on Scooby-Doo. I was already a teenager by the time it came out. So, I don't look at things as strange or obscure. It's just stuff that I am not privy to or I wasn't familiar with. So I'm always happy to look it up and research it. So
there you go.
All right, we're going to go to Ken's question. Whose pencils were most challenging to do?
Yes, this is coming from a now published inker, by the way. For those of you who don't know, Ken Carson is a published inker now for our comic that we sort of funded. We'll throw that up a little later in the program. But yes, this is coming from a published inker, Mr. Ken Carson. He would like to know what the hardest.
He's saying stop it.
Well, I can tell you that now it didn't help that I was all about 24 years old at the time. But I inked a Gene Colan story back in like 81 or something. And Gene was not a hard-edged, linear artist. It was a lot of shading, subtle shading. And, guys like Giacoya were great at it, but and Kurt Swan was a little of that too. They left a lot to your imagination, but almost too much because it didn't lend itself to traditional line or shadow or graphic inking. It was very, very subtle, side of the pencil gradations and gentle shadings. And if you tried to harden it and do a Joe Sinnott on it, it didn't look right. And if you overly feathered it and made it too fine arts, it was not great for comic interpretation. You had to have just that right thing. And like I said, Giacoya was a master of it. And Kurt Swan certainly had some great inkers on him in the 60s and 70s. But I found those two to be they were so good, but they were so subtle and non-conventional. As I said, it was a kind of a shading. It was gentle stuff, powerful, but not lending itself to a traditional inking style. So, I was a pretty young guy, so maybe now I wouldn't have found it so daunting, but I did back then. Carmen Infantino was all over the place too. I inked quite a bit of his stuff. I think Carmen sort of got to the point where everything was, he had done everything so many times. He just kind of did, all right, here we go again. Let me do this with the small little buildings in the background. And, so I think his heart had gone out of it by one point. So I found Carmen to be a bit daunting because I think he had fallen into just let me do these shortcuts to stuff I've been doing for 30 years. And I don't think his heart was quite into it anymore. So I'm trying to think. Steve Ditko was very hard to do because he was so used to finishing his own stuff that it was very, very open, just shapes. And for you to come in and do that beautiful way of finishing that he used to do, you'd have to be in his mindset and his equal as an artist to do that. And, back then I certainly wasn't. And I found Steve Ditko to be very difficult. It was so open and you wanted to make it look like Steve, but how do you make something so stylized work? So I was never thrilled with, I did a couple of stories of Ditko.
Do you recall what you inked him on?
Well, it was when Shooter left Valiant, and in the mid to late 80s had or early 90s. I'm trying to think. He had started this own little private company, and they did some work there. But I remember doing. I'm sorry, you have to understand that I try to keep in focus and catalog, 42 years of being in the business.
Oh, I understand.
It's not always an easy task for me. It starts blending in all the trips to New York in all kinds of weather and traipsing from one company and building to another and selling my wares and styles to one company after the other, and just always trying to keep active, always trying to keep abreast with what was going on. So I think a lot of it just kind of jumbles together in my memories. But
no, that's fine. Well, let's see. I have two. There's two things. One, which is a question that's tongue in cheek, is how bad was Bill Morrison as an editor in chief? The other question is actually a real one. It's and Jason Lutz, he signed on to get a commission earlier, but he wanted to know if you do a take on existing characters. He'd love to see your version of the Yellow Lantern Joker. And to that, I'll say Mike does know how to work Google. So if that's a character you wanted to request, I'm sure he could look it up if it exists in real life, and he could give you his take on it. I would imagine. Is that correct, Mike?
Oh, sure. There's.
Yeah.
I'm a very adventurous human being, especially when it comes to art. I love new challenges. I love new styles. I love attempting something I maybe never have done before. So I'm always open to things.
There you go.
And Bill Morrison was a horrible person to work with. No, I'm just kidding. Bill is a great guy, and I hope to, now that I'm going to be a little more involved with Ken, Bill Morrison and I go back now, well over 20 years, and he kind of, around 2000 is when I wanted to start getting involved working with the Simpsons, and he was very much a help and an encouraging person, and he's quite a strong artist, very talented. He probably draws the Simpsons better than Matt Groening could ever have dreamt of. He's just got that look down, and he's just a good guy.
Absolutely. Now, Annika, just real quick, did Jason already have a request for a sketch or no? I can't remember.
Yes.
Okay, Jason, is this one you want to replace with your previous request, or do you want to add another request? These are all things that we need to know. Otherwise,
I don't mind more than one request from a person.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess the character doesn't really exist, so he would just want to kind of see your take on it. So add it to it. Okay, so yeah, so another full figure request. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you want to just if you want to message Annika or Ken or anybody, just give us a little more information, because the more information we have for Mike, and I say this to somebody who's giving us a character that doesn't exist that he wants Mike to make. Please, everybody, there's nothing worse than over.
But Yellow Lanterns exist, so yeah, I mean, it would just be a mashup between a Yellow Lantern and
the Joker, right? Something in there.
And I want to add this to people. Anybody who would like to get art, I don't care what you like. It's not about me. It's about making you happy. And the more detailed that you make your description of what you want, the better chance I have of making you as happy as possible.
So you say that, Mike, and then ML asks for Wonder Woman versus Swamp Thing on stairs. So see it.
Well, if he's willing to pay for it, by God, I'll do it.
There you go. Absolutely. Wow. No.
I'm not insulted by great stage direction. I'm used to it. Like I say, if you're willing to pay me, and I'm grateful that you do, I don't mind what you tell me. It's like I said, it's not about me. It's about making you happy.
That's awesome. And just because you gave me an opening, Mike, so I'm gonna point this out to everybody. Mike DeCarlo is going to be working with 4C Comics a lot more in the future. We're going to hopefully be bringing Mike to some shows. We're definitely going to do. We were doing this. Obviously, we're hopefully going to do another commission list, more maybe something a little more extreme at some point. But this is just our live show stuff. So hopefully, when this stuff comes out, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff with Mike. So please, I wouldn't. He's now part of our extended family, so we're very happy that Mike's going to be with us. So that's another. He gave me the window to make the little announcement, so I figure I'd throw it out there. So,
I was wondering if you were going for that.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's what happens when I come late. I didn't even know these names.
By the way, Annika, Mike DeCarlo is part of the 4C family now. So
that's so exciting.
Should have showed up before the deal.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't work late.
Well, I'm happy to be part of it, and not to be corny, but nothing makes me happier than making somebody happy with one of my drawings. That is what I always have lived for since I was a little kid. And as I say, it's not about me. We don't draw in vacuums. My goal, and unfortunately I was given somewhat of a gift, is to spread my talent in ways that make people happy. Some people do their music, some people do it with their writing, whatever. I have been fortunate enough to be able to do that with my art, and that gives me a raison d'etre. And I'm happy to do it, and I'm going to continue to do it as long as I'm still in the carbon cycle, which hopefully is several more years. So anyway.
Well, listen, what you have given our wonderful 4C family is they're going to start checking new words on their thesaurus after this interview. They're going to start checking new phrases because you've opened us up to a whole new words and things that I don't think have ever been spoken on this show before, and I appreciate it.
What is raison d'etre? Sorry. Oh, I didn't realize my mic was on.
I am an utterly pompous wordsmith. I have to tell you that. So,
oh no, it's always fun. I like it's always great talking to you, Mike. It seriously is a pleasure. And guys, once again, keep those questions coming. If you guys got stuff, we're probably not going to keep Mike on all night since he's not drawing live, but we'll definitely love if you guys have been coming up with some great questions. You know, he's got great answers. So, I mean, we can fill this time with our questions, but you guys are out there. If you want to ask him something, please feel free.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to engage with people who share the same love that I do and have done all my life. So I don't consider this as any kind of effort. It's a pleasure for me, and I try to always answer with as much honesty and with as many indecipherable words that I can possibly think of at a given moment.
Well, you don't have to work too hard to get me because I just upgraded from grunts and whistles a couple weeks ago. But Emilio asks, did Mike ever accidentally mess a page up?
Ooh.
Or on purpose. I mean, sometimes you just don't like those pencilers. Just, you know.
No, I like to do this. Isn't so much messing a page up, but I like to tell this story. Back in the summer of 1979, yes, I'm that old. I had just started working with Dick Giordano as his assistant, and he lived in Stratford and I lived in New Haven, which was 15-20 minute ride from my house to his studio. And he handed me a bunch of pages. Mike, can you do the backgrounds on these? I said, sure. I took them home. I diligently worked on them. And within a couple of days, it was the summer of 79. I was driving to his home on the highway, Wilbur Cross Parkway. And I had the pages on the side of my car. And for a second, I just glanced down and I saw that we used to have the shorthand of putting X's where you want to fill in black areas. Mm-hmm. So I had put in an X and I forgot to fill it in. So I just picked it up for just a split second. I wanted to make sure. And the window was open. And it sucked the page out onto the Wilbur Cross Parkway in the middle of traffic. And I said, well, it was nice to at least think you were going to get into comics. It was nice to think Dick was going to. I said, when I tell him that one of the pages is been run over and is in the bushes on the side of Route 15, he's going to say, you know, could you be a bigger idiot? Get the hell out of my studio. So all this was running through my mind in 2 seconds. So I pulled the car over as safely as I could. And I got out on the shoulder and I was saying, please, I'm too young for my career to already be dead. Please. So I'm skirting back probably 200 yards and there, neatly ensconced and safe as a baby in a cradle, is the page in some grass with not a scratch or a piece of dirt on it. And I put it back in the car, and my heart, from being racing at about 190, just calmed down. And I said, You will never tell Dick this. You will never tell Giordano this happened. You will never tell. And, God rest his soul, but, 43 years later, he doesn't know that panic that I felt as that page got sucked out of the window on a busy highway. And, oh, my God, I still feel the terror in my heart. Because I said, how do you explain that to a guy? Oh, the page flew out the window. The what?
Yeah.
The page flew out what? Where is the page? I don't know, Dick. I just was picturing all these things in my head. But anyway, it had a good story. And needless to say, I never did that again. So,
But wait, did you fill in the blacks though? On the
That's your takeaway, huh, Jeff?
I think they might have been filled in with browns after that story. That might have been how I would have reacted to it.
No, I got to his house and I said, well, look, I missed that X. Oh my God. I can't tell you how grateful I was. It was just, one of those praise be moments, whether you're religious or not. It was just, you work so hard and you get to that point, and what a dumb thing that was to happen. But I skirted it. I got around it, and here I am 43 years later joking about it.
There you go. And once again, Dick never knew.
No, he went to his grave. Oh my God, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
This is Annika's piece she did for her.
Oh my goodness.
I love this piece. Yeah, it's mine. It makes me so happy.
Well, see, there you go. That's my goal, to make you happy. So there you are. When did I do that?
I think last year? This year?
2000. I can't read it from here.
Yeah, I can't see it either. Otherwise, yeah. Annika's got the piece somewhere. Go dig it up. No, I'm just kidding. I can't. If that was from last year, it's probably under about this much other Jane Foster art. So
no, it's in my portfolios.
Portfolio.
Your portfolio. One of your best drawings, right?
Oh no, my framer closed. So
the chat is saying it's 2021.
They have better. They're watching this on big screens. They have better screens than we do.
I couldn't even see it on my computer. I guess I need glasses. Again. So
Beckerman, is this piece? Let's see.
Oh no.
Why is this up here?
Who, me?
We have an on-running joke with Annika and geography, but we're not going to get into that because there's no geography involved. That we couldn't see the road he was driving on in New York to have her try to point out. Where's New York?
Up the top.
Up. Well, I was probably right around there in central Connecticut at the time when I was driving on the Wilbur-Cross Parkway south to Stratford, Connecticut. That's where I was going.
So is Connecticut north or south of New York, Annika? This is the only geography question all day.
He just said south.
No.
Nope. I don't know. South.
No, it's next to it. It's well.
Oh, it's really tiny. It's east.
It's east.
Your question didn't matter. It was wrong.
So is there going to be a lot of geography questions, because I might need to.
Oh my God! All right, guys, this is it. We have 4C's next show. It's geography with Beckerman and Annika. Oh, this is going to be great. This will be.
I have a general sense of where I'm going.
This is going to be a holiday spectacular that will rival the Guardians of the Galaxy one that just came out, which I watched.
You can sign us up for the Amazing Race. There you go.
Yeah.
She can work the map. Because here's the thing. I'm not the guy that gets frustrated if he gets lost. I'll eventually get there.
Well, that's what GPS is for.
Exactly.
We could be explorers. Maybe we'll find somewhere new nobody heard about.
Ken doth returneth to our fold.
And he's muted.
Ken, we can't hear you. Your volume's not on.
Though. We like it.
I had to come in because I have to tell a story about Becker. So I went to Planet this year, and Beckerman took me to a Royals game, and we had in like a luxury area. We had like a waiter who brought us food. It was crazy. So it's about seventh inning. Becker's like, "You done?" I'm like, "Let's go." So we walked 20 feet to the car, and he's driving back to Kansas City, and we're literally minutes from my hotel. He turns to me and says, "Did you pay the tab?" And I was like, "No." He said, "Holy shit!
I didn't pay the tab.
He didn't pay the tab either." So he drops me off.
I dropped
drives
you off.
back
Yep.
to the stadium, goes in, finds the waiter.
I had to fight my way
basically-
into the stadium. A cop got really emotional about me walking past him. But I explained the situation. He got somebody to escort me in, and I paid the waiter, and he got a really decent tip for me being an idiot. And at least I settled my. At least I'm welcome back.
Find his way to the stadium,
Royal
right?
Stadium.
You are an honorable man, an honorable
That was the
man.
point of my
I'll
story.
tell you.
That was the point of my story. Becker, I mean, listen, I think I'm a nice guy. I would have been to go. Yeah, sorry, bud. I mean,
I'm not
I don't know.
stiffing anybody.
I would
Those
never
guys
even
work
thought-
hard.
I would have never even thought to go back to the stadium.
Oh yeah.
do
Well,
that.
I tried calling to see if I could do it over the phone. Nobody's answering the phone, so I'm like, all right. Well, I guess I'm breaking into Kaufman. So I went back, and the game was just getting out because we left early, like Ken said. So it was literally ending as I'm walking in the door. So everybody's streaming out, and I'm just kind of sashaying through, which at my size isn't really a thing. I'm just kind of barging my way in, Bluto style, and I almost make it in, and all of a sudden this hand grabs my shoulder, and I look back, and apparently a cop had been asking me to stop for a few feet. And I hadn't even heard him because I'm just focused on trying to get where I'm going. And I'm like, I don't want to leave without paying my tab. I forgot. I'm very sorry. The waiter figured, he's like, well, you guys had credit on your seat. I just kind of chalked it up to a loss. And I was like, no, if you can pull it up. Well, I'll settle up with you. And I tipped him real good because I felt so dumb. But I'm so used to buying everything. That was the first time I ever sat in seats like that. So I'm not used to having a waiter at the ballpark.
I thought everything was taken care of. That's why I didn't even think of it, Bill.
Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Who was
I supposed
Kansas
to
City
pay
playing? Who were they playing that night?
Who
They were
was
playing the
KC? The Twins. Yep, there it was.
And
Yep.
Royals Twins.
Who won the game?
Not
Not
the
the
Royals.
Royals. It was the Twins.
Not the Royals. Okay.
I remember. I told Becker that the first baseball game I ever went to, I was probably 6 or 7 years old. My brother took me to Yankee Stadium, and I sat 2 or 3 rows behind Thurman Munson, and they were playing the Twins because I remember Rod Carew was in the game.
Wow.
And so when I was when I was growing up, I used to always wear Kansas City hats because I'm Ken Carson, had my initials on it. So I always liked the Royals in that way. So when I was at the Royals and they were playing the Twins, I was like, that's kind of a full circle kind of thing for me in a sense,
Yeah. See, I only know Rod Carew. I only know Rod Carew from the Hanukkah song. That's the only reason why I know who Ron Carew is from Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song. That's it. Sorry.
And will you be
And Thurman
back to
Munson.
Planet?
Love Thurman. Huh?
Are you coming back to Planet, Ken?
I think I am. Mr. Morrison is coming, so he asked me to come and handle him. So I'm going to reach out to Chris at Planet and see if maybe he's interested in anybody like Mike DeCarlo or
Absolutely. Well, and just to let you know, Mike, we have Hancock Lee was thinking about his commission for the better part of an hour, and he wants from you a Galactus Jack Kirby style full figure Kirby Crackle if possible. How does that sound?
Doable and has been done in the past. I love Galactus, and that will be a work of pure love and passion for me. Trust me.
Excellent.
Trust me. I actually remember walking to the store as a kid in late 1965 and buying that issue of the Fantastic Four. That just Comics were never the same.
No, they changed the game. They literally changed the game there, I think.
You know, that as a kid, not quite 9, I was just so blown away. There was this curve of Marvel that started in around 63-ish when they were creating all these characters, and fueled by the genius of Dick Cohen and Kirby, just became off the charts creative, just broke all grounds in comics. That's it, the coming of Galactus. You know, I recreated that cover for somebody, and boy, there's a lot of
there you go. There's that one or the next one. Which one? That's his first appearance, but the next one's the really iconic one, right?
Oh my goodness.
Ken, you flipping through some comics there? What do you got there, buddy? That look at that. Yeah.
Claim. Oh, sorry. I thought we were doing
These are Bill Morrison's comics. So yeah.
Then definitely Claim. Just send them over.
Exactly.
This is maybe the best one in the bunch.
Annika, what do you think of that one?
Oh wait, what? You got another one?
I don't even have one.
Yeah, these are Bill's comics.
These are Bill Morrison books, huh?
These are Bill Morrison's.
From the collection of Bill Morrison. Wow.
Well,
Guys, unless anybody's got, we're almost at about the 2-hour mark. Unless some people got some more questions, which I'd love to ask, or anybody else wants to make a claim. You know, like I said, this is an open claim, guys. This is the price. I can't promise these prices are going to be the same next time. You never know. He's been in the industry for a while. We want to keep him reasonable, but you know,
yeah, I become more heady and exorbitant as the days pass. So.
Listen, yes, he's got needs. You know,
yesterday's price is not today's price.
Exactly. Look, those air conditioning units, don't take them in and out of windows. Let me just tell you.
I am the Elon Musk of comic entrepreneurs, so be wary of me. My greed, it has no boundaries whatsoever. But you know, that period of 64, 65, 66, you just, as a kid, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, every month you just couldn't believe the boundaries and the leaps that those books were taking, and you took it for granted, and you just thought it would never end. It was the groundbreaking concepts. I think that was part of that mid-60s whole thing. It was going on in music, going on in politics, going on in society, going on in just all over the place. But boundaries were being broken, and there were no rules. Some of it was trash, but yet the people with creativity were doing things that we're still living off of today. I mean, think of what Jack and Steve came up with in that period of 63 to 66. I mean, we're still companies are still profiting off that brief period of incomprehensible genius. But it was for those times only. You could never manufacture all the elements that went into that, because you can't duplicate that kind of just the perfect confluence of everything coming together with the perfect talents and the perfect venues for it, the perfect mentalities for it. What a wonderful time it was for me to grow up, because it seemed like the sky was the limit. And that's a nice way to grow up, because it shapes you as a person. It really does. It shaped me as a young man. And, you know, I still have that magic in me from that time period. I'll never lose that. I never will, because it came at just the right time in my life. So anyway,
no, that's like, yeah, those are your formative years, and to be formed by what you saw there. I mean, yeah, you can't think of any better comics, any better expression. Yeah,
We
let's see.
have a question from Ronald Shepard. What
Yeah.
character does Mike have the most passion for? I think we might have had this earlier.
The most, not
I'm
just
not
so
sure.
your favorite one, but the most passion for.
I as a young feller, Feller, my favorite character was always Ben Grimm. It was
Oh.
always the thing. The power and the pathos of the thing, his gentle love of a blind girl, his never understanding that she saw through the brute, the monster, and saw him for just the honorable man he was. That was Kirby's favorite character, the thing. And it came across Ben Grimm as the thing. It just always was my favorite Marvel character. I always had a great passion for the thing because he was so strong, and yet there was something so pathetic about him too. He knew he was a monster, but he wasn't a monster inside, and that was just so brilliant of the writing and the characterization back then. What depth in those characters! What depth there was. You think of how groundbreaking Peter Parker and Spider-Man was. How groundbreaking that was. This teenager who was just a nerd who lets his uncle be killed by a robber because he just let this crook go by him because for a minute he has this ego and he has to live with that forever. Just what genius writing back then. It's just
You
amazing.
have the best answers.
Yeah, well, it is. He does. I mean,
You used Feller and pathos in the same like paragraph, and I'm into it.
and then he went from Ben Grimm and made
Yeah.
some eloquent points about why and then you go to Peter, which is just, and people don't think about that. Like when they're creating these characters, they're like, we can't have Peter's father get killed because maybe that's too close. So let's have him be raised by his aunt and uncle. Even though his uncle was like a father to him, it just hits just a slight note differently. And these are all things that they came up with. And it's just, we just take it as gospel, but it's just brilliant.
We take it for granted, but you see, in my limited fashion, that's how I grew up. That's what I was introduced. That's how I learned to read at the age of 5 and 6. I remember going in and buying the first Avengers comic because it's said by the same team as does the Fantastic Four. This was the summer of 1963. I remember going in and bringing home Avengers 1. That was my life. That was all I knew, and I grew up with it. And I don't take it for granted. I look back and I say, what an amazing gift. What a time frame for a young fellow just learning to read, just expanding his imagination. And this is what I was exposed to. Stuff people are still derivative of 55 or 60 years later. And that was just part of my childhood. Just absolutely amazing. What a wonderful time to be a child back then.
Absolutely. Listen, and people, these things that you're saying, these just telling these stories and putting it all out there. Ronald Shepard has claimed a full figure Ben Grimm drawn with all of Mike's passion, and that's what you're going to get when you get this. So thank you so much, Ronald, and that's going to be that's going to be a great piece also.
I look forward. See, this is what gets my juices going, is communicating to people and getting them to feel the same passions that I feel at my age still, passions that haven't diminished at all. And in fact, they still grow in me because the more you learn and the better the product you can do, the more you can make people happy. And what the hell am I into this for? Other than doing stuff to make people happy, what am I into this for? Right. As I said earlier, I don't draw in a vacuum. that would be insane. That's been the joy of my life, is to make people happy with my artwork. So if my passion and energy and enthusiasm comes through, I'm glad that I still have it. And, people are welcome to it. Welcome to it. Absolutely. So,
Did you ever ink Ron Wilson? On the thing?
Ken, stop bragging. We know you inked Ron Wilson. Okay, we don't need.
No. I just said, we work with Ron, so
no, I certainly understand exactly his background in art, his fundamentals. I would find Ron extremely compatible to work with. We speak the same visual language. We do, musicians speak the same language, artists speak the same language. I know I would immediately be compatible with Ron Wilson. So I don't think I've ever inked his stuff, but I would be honored to do so. And I'm sure I would do it justice. So does that answer that question?
Yeah. It's just, and it's funny, thinking about, how you guys didn't cross paths.
Yeah.
Right around the same.
Maybe right around a similar time, but it wasn't. Ron was basically all Marvel.
Yeah, and
you did some Marvel. Mike did some Marvel, but not. He wasn't doing as much of that as he was at DC.
I don't know if Ron did anything.
Ronald has a question about invoicing.
Yes.
There's a time and a place.
Yes, Ronald, we know who you are. In fact, I know there's a piece that Ken is holding for you that we might end up shipping out because we want to kind of get all of the. Let me throw this out here while anybody here is here. We've got stuff that's that we were waiting on art for to ship out. We don't know how much longer we're going to wait for that last little piece of art to come before shipping out. We're trying to figure that out right now. But if Ken has stuff for you, it's probably going to go out sooner rather than later. So we'll let you know. But Ronald, yes, you have bought from us before. We know who you are. There's a Ron sketch for you at Ken's house that I gave to him that has to go to you. So, this has been an exceptional night. I thank you guys so much in the chat and everybody who got, like I said, for a live sketch show where no sketches were done live. This is probably one of the most enjoyable shows I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. I've enjoyed the repartee. There's another word for you.
Right, write it down.
Well, I'll look that up after I look up Confluence.
Let's. We're not getting off yet. We're going to hang out for a minute, but I also want to remind everybody that we have a few more guests for the rest of the year. So we got a few weeks left. Who's next week, Ken? Is it next week that we have? Sal?
John Delaney.
John Delaney.
John Delaney, then Sal Valletta.
And then hopefully we're going to have a charity.
But I haven't solidified a date yet, so because that's closer to Christmas, so I want to be careful.
Right. And we have our last Cartoonist Society one. We're going to make sure we fit that in because we want to try to get to 25.
Trying to get something big done.
Yeah, we want to get to $25,000 donated to the Cartoonist Society Foundation. We're working on it. We've only got a few weeks left. We're going to try to get one right in before the buzzer on that one. And then, as you guys know, Annika and Ken and I are all going to be in New Orleans for Fan Expo New Orleans, the first weekend of January. So that's our first show of the year. So I want to throw that out there. But yeah, so this is just.
Well, you don't even say the city, right? It's Nolans.
No. Listen, Nolans. There you go. See, I lived in New Orleans, and I unless you are a Haitian or Creole, I don't think I've ever heard anybody pronounce it Nolans before. They don't even say that there.
Don't mind me.
Oh man, but hey, listen, Mike, thank you so much for being here, and we are so happy to have you as part of the 4C family. I cannot say that enough. Like I said, I've been a huge fan of your work since I was a kid, dragging my father to a comic book convention because I had to have the Death of Jason Todd issue, even though it cost $60, which back then was an astronomical amount of money for a comic for me. And my dad, being the great guy he was, shelled out the money so I could have that comic. And we're talking like in the 80s, guys, $60. That's like $8,000 now, right? I'm doing the math right, I think. Somewhere around there.
I'll give you a real quick father and son comic story. This is probably 1963, and I was walking home with my father from school, and I knew some of the new comics had just come in, and my father was, let me put it nicely, a cheapskate. So I said, Dad, I think some of the new Marvels are out. Could I get 12 cents for a new book? And my father said, didn't I just give you 12 cents last week for a comic? I said, yeah. I said, well, they come out with new issues all the time. So I'm going to have to give you 12 cents, fairly often for comic books. Well, if you wouldn't mind, Dad, I mean, I used to have to argue for 12 cents. That's what a cheapskate my father was. 12 cents. Can you even comprehend that? Didn't I just buy you a comic book last week? Gee, Dad, you're a regular Rockefeller, for God's sake. I'll never forget that.
But you know what? I bet you he gave you the 12 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I had to go home. I had to go home probably wash the dishes for a week or something for my mother. But yeah, he gave me the 12 cents grudgingly. And my mother said, don't go to him anymore. I'll give you the 12 cents. He's a cheapskate.
There you go. Mom to the rescue. That's great.
Mom always helped me out there. So anyway, I will stick around if you need me to. Just
hang out for a minute where we're going to wrap up here. And guys, everybody who joined us tonight in the chat, thank you so much. It was great. You guys were great. You had the greatest questions. Annika popped in and just sat there and took all your information down. She's got it all. She's going to do these invoices. We'll get them all out to you. Mike is going to do this art, not immediately after the show because, he might need to eat or sleep or something, but we'll get them out to you guys fairly soon. We'll let him eat. We allow him to do that. It's okay. Even though he's now part of the 4C family, we want to make sure he's well fed and well rested. Beckerman, I want to do this with you all the time, man. Please come back more.
I would, if you guys will have me back, if you let me back in the door, I will definitely be here.
Listen, I need you. I need
a great
you to
night. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I need
you here. Just don't try to skip out on paying the bill anymore.
I won't. I fought through Kansas City 5 o'clock traffic to pay that bill.
Exactly. That's a guy. That's somebody you never have to count on. You never have to worry about not pulling his share.
I felt awful.
I told him the next day, I said, you got to talk about your dine and dash skills.
No, I
thought you guys were going to say you went to like Ruth's Chris the next night and said, we know how to do this.
I was afraid that I was going to have an issue getting back in once that police officer grabbed me because I was thinking in my head, I'm too soft for jail. They'll take my kindness for weakness. And I had no interest in that.
Oh my God. Well, thank you guys so much. This is our last show of this month, which is November. All we got left is December, guys, and then we're into 2023. So we're going to make that year way better than this one. And this one has been phenomenal for us as a company, and you guys have all been great. And thank you so much. And once again, thank you, Mike DeCarlo, for joining us. Thank you, Beckerman. Ken, thank you for having us all on 4C, man. We love being here, and we love your comments from the background. It's always funny when you chime in.
I enjoy shows like that.
Oh, man. But everybody, thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week. Join us on Tuesday.